So students, this is going to be a tutorial about tracking, kerning, and baseline spacing. This is what we use to space letters out, crunch them in, make them closer together, make them further apart, or how we separate the lines, put lines of text further apart so that they're aligned more visually. And this is absolutely a personal choice of how you do this. And how it looks. You create your own looks, your own styles. I'm just going to show you some of the basics. So here we had Cloudscape. Make sure that when you select Cloudscape, and we're going to talk about these things over here, kerning, tracking, and baseline, all right? Make sure that you have the entire word selected. Otherwise, what we're going to start with kerning is separating the space between the letters. If I don't have the entire word selected, you'll see this is what happens. It's just going to move the space right where my cursor is. So we don't want that. So double click, make sure that the entire word is selected, then go over here to kerning. All you have to do is place your mouse over these two zeros right by kerning, and left click, and if you drag left, it's going to put them closer together. If you drag right, it's going to spread them out. And so we're going to pick something around 25, 26, somewhere around there. You don't have to be exact. Let it go. And automatically we are centered again. If you want to make sure that you're centered, just click it. We were a little bit off there. All right. So what is tracking? Well, let's Command Z that. And let's look at tracking. Again, with the whole word space, tracking is very similar. It's going to go actually the other way, but we use it differently. We normally will use tracking when we're dealing with all caps or small caps to space things out. It's just another way of doing it, and again, center it. It looks exactly the same. Let's Command Z that. Go back to that, and then we'll go talking about baseline. Before we talk about baseline, I want to create another line of text. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put my cursor at the very end of this, and I'm going to hit the return. That's really important. To escape this area of writing text, do not hit enter to tell the computer that you're finished. You hit escape to get out of it. But I'm going to type between the ground and the edge of space. So I'm doing between, and forgive my typing, it's really bad sometimes, between the ground and the edge of space. All right, so if I center these both, of course there's nothing I can do. That looks terrible, so I have to fix that. Correct? So I'm just going to select one, select the word cloud, and I can center that up here. That's left, centered. Now I'm centered here. And between the ground and the edge of space, remember I told you about these in the previous lesson. Here's my title, say, won't work. It's going to be sent back. Take that, select it, go over here to your font size, and let's reduce that to 70 and see if that brings us more than into what we need. Great. So now I've got this. I want to spread this out between the ground and the edge of space so that it covers almost the entirety of my available real estate for titling right there. So again, just selecting that second line, and I'm going to go to tracking, and I'm going to spread this out so that it goes almost to the edge there. And so I go, okay, that's okay, but maybe it's too much for me to read, as one of the things that we have to deal with in titles is that it has to be readable. Readability, style, and flexibility. So right now, that's too much on one line. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to make another line. So I put my cursor there, hit return, And now I've got 3 lines. And they all are different sizes, right? So this one ends, this one's shorter than this one, and so on and so forth. So I can fix that by using my kerning. So first I want to set my largest font, which is Soundscape. I'm going to use my kerning, and I'm going to spread kerning out. Let's go the other way. And I'm going to keep it going until I want it to fill that box that I've made for it. All right, so that's at 32. So let me put it at 30, and I should be okay. I'm right close, right? 29 might be better. Yes. All right. So now I can take between the ground, and I can use my kerning to spread that out so that it takes up exactly the same length of space as that, again, centering everything. And my kerning there is a little off. So I can adjust that. I can adjust my tracking on it just a little bit as well, right? Then I can, my tracking's off. There we go. And then we have between the edge of space. So I'm going to say, let's leave these alone. But they're too close together. They're way too close together. So I can select them all, Command A to select them all. And then my baseline, I can adjust, and it's going to move all of them equally. That's not what I wanted at all. I want to move each one of them. So I'm going to take Soundscape, and I'm going to take my baseline, and I'm going to move it up right at the cloud level, right? Then I'm going to take between the ground. And one of the things that we talked about with kerning and tracking is that we like to use this with small caps or small cap sizes. So I'm going to go to small caps, and notice that the lowercase letters are now just smaller cap letters. That works much better for us when we're talking about tracking and kerning, as you can see here. That worked much better for me, and I've got a space in there that I really don't need. So do the same thing with the edge and the edge of space. Go to small caps, click small caps, and there it is. But again, they're all crammed together. So I'm going to leave between the ground where it is right now. I'm going to take the second one, and I'm going to change my baseline shift here. And I'm going to lower it so that it looks about the same. Now you see this white line here? I'm going to move my between the ground. I need some kind of visual to make sure that everything gets aligned. So I'm going to use my baseline to adjust that so that between the line is sitting right on that little white line. Do exactly the same thing with and the edge of space, and use my baseline to lower that puppy just a little bit and center that. And then I can actually go up here to my cloudscape. I'm going to go in and use small caps on that, and that makes that a lot better. And my baseline might be a little too high for that, and all I have to do is click on it and left click on it and bring it down a little bit. And when I click into the gray space, there I've got this all nice and squared up without having to use a title box. So I can adjust the the spacing. I can adjust between the letters, between the words, so on and so forth. With these three things, leading, don't let people call you leading. I use that a lot because it's one of my private jokes. It's leading, not leading, kerning, and tracking, and your baseline. And after this, then I would go in and then I would look at changing my fonts. So everything right now is in the same font. And readability is something that we really depend on. So I can change the font of Cloudscape to anything that I want that I think might be a little more pronounced with the word Cloudscape. Whatever you want to choose, and by just using my up and down arrow keys, I'm going through all of these fonts until I find something that I like that would make this stand out. Something like that's certainly too harsh. That's certainly too big. I could reduce them in size and everything. That certainly looks more like a Disney movie. So again, personal choice. This is where your artistic ability and your artistic influence comes in. Choose what you want, right? You can mix fonts. It's very advisable to do that. It makes it visually interesting, and it also tells the audience what's the most important thing about what is on the screen right now, and what you want them to see first, what do you want to see second and third. All right? So use your creativity, play with that, and play with leading, kerning, tracking, and adjusting your baseline. All right? Thanks so much. See you next time.